Welcome back, you guys. I'm hoping that you can all hear me perfectly and clear. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Line CV, and welcome back to the live stream debate show, talk show. I haven't found a name for it just yet, you guys, but today I'm joined by two guests in Matisse and Alex Goldberg, so the dynamic duo, as they're calling themselves. They're going to be some great fun today. But of course, before I introduce them, you guys, today's video is brought to you by AA Sport. And they actually contacted me because they wanted me to give my thoughts and opinions on this current situation involving the Premier League and no football due to this coronavirus situation. So as you guys can see on screen, Rory, Expressions, Mo and Troops.
I don't care about anyone else, blood. I just know that I need to avoid the thing, blood.
I can't believe what I'm about to say here, lads, but I think that the season needs to be voided.
So the questions basically are, why should the Premier League be voided? Why should the Premier League not be voided? What implications may it have on our window? And what impact are we going to have? So if you're asking me, you guys, I just think that it's too quick to give definitive answers on whether we should void the season. I think we need to have some patience. We need to see what the doctors are saying. If they can find some cures for this virus, we need to, we have to be patient because there's a lot of money involved. I'm thinking of the lower divisions, the lower clubs. What's going to happen to them if the season was void? I think sometimes we can be a bit too insular. For clubs like us, if it was void, it would be okay because we're back in the Champions League and we've got a young squad who will only be better next season. And we'll have all our key players coming back from injuries. So we'll work out in those regards. But I just think overall, for the sake of competition, I just personally feel that we need to remain patient, you guys. So that's that. If you guys want to see the full video, there is going to be a card above. Make sure you guys watch that. And of course, leave your comments in that video as well. I left a comment there to you guys, so make sure you interact with that. And now on that point, and hopefully you guys are hearing everything perfectly. Hopefully there's no issues right now, because if there is, I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, now I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Boom. You can see a sexy face right there. Matisse, Armani, what are you saying, man?
It's good to be back, bro. Thanks for having me again. Obviously, I was here last time with you.
Like Eunice. 10 minutes ago, yeah.
Yeah, and 10 minutes ago. So now we're back again. And yeah, it's great to be here. I just, I make videos on Twitter. I jump on podcasts, and I obviously run a publication as well, Things Chelsea sometimes, and do some writing as well. So I kind of just dip my toe in every single bit of water I can, and it's good to be here. It's good to be back.
Nice, man. And hey, Alex, man, introduce yourself.
Oh, Matisse gets the sexy face, and
You feeling it? You've been here so many times. People know you already by now. How can we make your intro sexier? Like, we can't.
Well, I'm wearing a shit sweatshirt, so it's okay. So yeah, no, it's good to be back, and it's good to be on YouTube again, which is still foreign for me as many times as I do it. And it's good to be with Matisse, who really, I think everyone now is just grouping us in together, and it could be worse. So it's good to be here.
Hey, great to have you. And of course, you guys, if you haven't downloaded, I'm not even downloaded. If you haven't joined Alex's Patreon, I still don't know what you're waiting for. Again, an amazing interview today with Derek Ray. That's going to be live soon. So if you guys want to, obviously, what you really doing? We're all self-isolating. You're at home. You're forgetting what day it is, what time it is, because the days are just blurring. They're all the same. So if you want to add some spice in your life, then make sure you download. Why do I keep saying download? Make sure you subscribe to his Patreon to get access to his podcast. It's worth it. And yeah, you guys, I think let's just start with things. Let's just talk about how we feel the season's going to progress now, because of course football's fully shut down at this point in time. And Matisse, because you're on screen right now, what do you feel would be the best way to cope with this current situation? Is it time to just give up on things so Liverpool don't win the league, or are we thinking more than just Liverpool?
Obviously it's sweet, bittersweet that Liverpool won't be able to win the league. Obviously, I don't want to be mean or anything, but it is somewhat funny. But on a wider scale, I know you said obviously that, lower league clubs and whatnot, they may not be able to cope. I just look at, the Premier League, the EFL, as any other business, they've had to pay their workers. And I just feel if there is going to be an issue for money down the track, then, the Premier League may need to help out. I don't see how we can continue to prolong the season, when we really don't know when lockdown is going to end. We really don't know when clubs are going to be able to travel, fans in the stadium. We've seen, a couple Champions League games with no fans in the stadiums and just how dead that atmosphere was for the players, and watching on TV. It's not the same. And then you just look at it from a broader state. You've got European Championships rescheduled, Wimbledon, Olympics, everything's been rescheduled for next summer. And I think even other European leagues have already started to say that they're going to be void. I think even La Liga as well now. So, timeline, Champions League fixtures, everything with next season, I just don't see how everything can work out, and be fair if we're going to try and finish a season when really next season should be starting. For me, I would personally just void it all, and just start again with the same remap that we had this year, the same fixtures, the same teams in the same positions, the same qualifications for Europe. And it's unfortunate for the likes of Sheffield United, Leicester, etc. But not everybody's going to win. This is a pandemic. It's a freak situation we're in, and it demands a freak response, which is for me just to void it.
But what about like other clubs like across Europe, like Getafe? They got a possibility of getting Champions League spots. Rennes in France as well, and how football is. You have like these one-off periods where you can get success. It might not come again.
Yeah, it's harsh, but at the end of the day, it's just the reality that we're in. For me, if we're trying to finish the season, first of all, you've got players right now that are currently, yes, they're training, but we all know the training method that they're doing at home, their little cycles that they're doing in their living room is not the same
not
as
effective enough. Yeah.
So they're already probably coming out of shape, out of peak condition. So they're basically gonna have to, they're basically on pre-season right now to come back into a season that's not finished. It just, for me, it's all just a bit too messy. It's not going to be fair regardless. I think, if you're looking at China, they haven't opened up their lockdown fully. They're out of the crisis, the peak, so to speak, but they're still having people come into the country on 14-day quarantine. So even if we do bring the league back, for sure there'll be no fans in the stadium until at least, I think, August, luckily. So you're going to be playing in empty stadiums, and the home away advantage is lost, and for me that's unfair as well. So yeah.
Hey, Faith, valid points. Alex, man, I definitely know you got some thoughts cooking up in there. Like, do you think Matisse is right? Do you think we should just give up on the season?
Yeah, I mean, there's not an easy answer. Obviously, like, no one knows what's going to happen, and the uncertainty of this whole situation is just, it's very unsettling for everyone. And I've even asked on my own podcast, these people, like commentators, what do you think the powers that be should do? The powers that be have no idea what's going to happen. And obviously, to an extent, I feel still, I know for the sake of this and for the sake of my own podcast and Matisse's content, we have to talk about football, but it does feel secondary when all of this is going on in the world. And there's just so many more serious things at hand. And the fact that we don't know. I'm a consumer of other American sports, and the NBA season just got suspended. I have no idea what's happening with the NBA season. Like, is it going to come back at all? Is it just be a playoff system? No idea. Baseball was supposed to start. Obviously, we have no idea. The whole season might get wiped out.
Yeah.
The NFL is supposed to start in September. Yeah, like that seems feasible, but the process to start the season in September happens in July. So what can be done on that front? So it's just so tough to know. The one thing I do not want to happen, and I don't think it will happen, but it did happen in the Belgian league, is for things to freeze. Now, Chelsea would still be fine. So from a selfish standpoint, okay, freeze us at 4th. We get Champions League football. But that's just not fair. That is just not fair. As Peter Drury, the commentator, said on my own podcast, not everybody's played the same amount of games. Some have a certain amount of home games left versus away games left. Some have the easy schedule left versus a hard schedule left. Maybe a team like Norwich, who's in relegation, could have made a run, whatever. But that's not fair. So that can't happen. So what the Belgian league did, their system, their table was different, and it was just completely different context. So you can't do that in the Premier League. I'm afraid it will have to be a void. Now, I know they're seriously considering doing this like closed door June, July tournament where everyone is quarantined and they get the tests out for the players. But like, one thing should the players be prioritized right now over people who actually need the tests?
Yeah.
So they order thousands of tests for the players. And I know from a football standpoint, we love it because we'll get some football, maybe, even though it's not going to be, as Matisse said, as emotional because there'll be no fans. But all right, our players now are healthy and we can watch something on the television. Still, though, morally, should they be taking away tests from the people that actually need it just so we can get some football on
Valid
TV?
points, yeah.
No, like not really. So I know that they want to finish things from a financial standpoint, from a closure standpoint.
Yeah.
Like it would just feel so weird to have this whole season that just happened really never exist. And I think even to a certain extent, records and goals and stats, it all kind of vanishes. So that would be weird, but I think you're going to have to do a void. I really do. And this is my take on the whole thing is like, we know football's secondary, but if we can look at football when normality does come back, and it might be a while, by the way, for like fans to be in stadiums. I know Germany is trying to pretend that they'll get things restarted. It will be behind closed doors. But Derek Ray just told me on my podcast, who's a Bundesliga commentator, that Germany may want to start somewhat soon, but they're resigned to probably not having fans for the rest of the calendar year. So like until 2021. So it could be a long time until we get normal back. But whenever we do get normal back, at this point, I think we have the void. I think Matisse said it well, like, hey, it's going to be unfair on someone. No one in this situation is going to find, we're not all going to find the same resolution fair. Like, fairness is out the window. And that was out the window the moment that Serie A had to start postponing games. Like, because they were kind of the first country in league to really be hit hard by it. And they had to start postponing games or doing closed-door stadiums. The minute that happened, fairness went out the window. So, listen, I know it's easy for us Chelsea fans to say, but it's a lot harder for Liverpool fans to agree with that because if it means they don't get their Premier League trophy, rightfully so, they'll be pissed. I get it. Like, I do get it. And I know a lot of people can think, well, no, you only get it because you're a Chelsea fan. You'd be irate if you were a Liverpool fan. I'm not saying I wouldn't be, but we all can agree that this is not going to be a fair resolution for everyone. And the last thing I want to happen is for the 2021 season to be majorly impacted by what we choose to do to finish up this one. I mean, maybe even the following Euro. Like, we still don't know. There's such uncertainty. Sure, we know Euros is now the next summer, but, like, how far in advance are we going to ruin future things?
Yeah.
So,
I think these are valid points because,
is, like, I fine, let's void it. You know, once again, I know someone could say easy for me to say, let's void it, and then let's really hope that the 2021 season, maybe it won't be completely normal, but it'll be close to normal, and we can look forward to that. Because, guys, I mean, we're getting to the point now where the season would be coming to a close relatively soon anyway. So how much more indefinite waiting can we do? I'm not sure. So at this point, I would say void.
And I think the reality too, from what I'm hearing, actually, what I'm saying, actually, you know, I'll tell you guys, obviously, I've got a friend who actually works for the NHS, and he works in like the lab department when it comes to, you know, I don't know the full intricacies or the full details, but I know, obviously, he works in the lab department there. And obviously, he's been really vocal about this whole coronavirus situation because he's been on the front line for time. And he said that, obviously, everyone's still a bit annoyed that, you know, politicians took too long to come to agreements because all that time wasted really cost a lot of people. And he's saying that with this virus, there's potential that there could be a second wave and third wave as the year goes on. So, you know, I'm sure, you know, people behind the scenes have, you know, they have their information, they have their data. But maybe there is a real possibility that we just can't possibly wait until, you know, things get better to continue the season. So I think maybe, I think for us, we'd be good. It'd be annoying for fans like, you know, for teams like Sheffield United, etc., you know. Yeah, maybe it could be easier to get some of their players. Nah, I'm being a prick. But yeah, you guys, I just think that, I think we've spoken enough about things. I think a lot of people now want to hear us talk about transfers. They want us to debate about what player needs to come. Is Coutinho the answer? Is Lautaro Martinez the guy? Do we need to kick out Tammy Abraham? Is Hudson-Odoi, I don't know, Flopson-Odoi? I don't know. But I just think maybe to start with things, let's actually talk about Coutinho because, you know, Coutinho has been someone doing the rounds on social media for a long time. A lot of fans have a lot of opinions about him. I'm sure some of you guys in the comment section now have seen my previous video I've done. You know how disillusioned I am, just how tired I am. And, you know, of course, it's not just my opinion matters. Of course not. So I want us to talk about Coutinho and just talk about, do you think there's some validity behind these claims? Do you think that he would be a good player for us if he was signed? Because of course, you know, a loan fee, Barcelona reducing his transfer fee by like half to like 65, 70 mil, you know? Could there be some intelligence behind this move? Matisse, what are you thinking, man?
I give it probably about maybe 50% credibility. I give it a lot more now that it's a loan deal because I think it suits business-wise, it suits Marina a lot more. The way she operates, she's very calculated. She's very, do you know what I mean? She's very tactile with the way she goes about things. She doesn't just anymore throw money at anything. I think after the massive deals that we've, you know, if you look at Chelsea's top 10 transfer buys, you know, it includes Drinkwaters, Moratas, Kepas, Bakayoko's. You know, there's less successes than there are successes. So, you know, there's more flops. So I don't think she's too keen on throwing money anymore at players that she's not 100% sold on. So you know, when I made my video, you know, on Twitter, which obviously did its own thing, my whole thing was he's not a priority. I think we've got other positions that are more important, and I also think, you know, players like Jeremy Bogle, who have a release clause of around 11 million or so, you know, value for money wise, if you're trying to improve the whole squad, then, you know, you need to be a bit smart with it. And a lot of people say that's penny pinching and you should just throw all the money at Coutinho. But you know, I think, you know, yes, FFP has been relaxed, but that's also because we're in hard times. That's the reason. It's not just for the reason that FFP has been relaxed. So it's not necessarily a thing where we're going to be able to go out and blow everybody out of the water like we did in 06, because at the end of the day, our owner is a billionaire, and you know, his finances will certainly take a hit in what looks to be probably another recession, global recession. So there's no way he's not going to take a hit from that. He's not Superman. So for me, when I'm looking at, you know, list of transfers now, I've adapted somewhat. I was very heavy on Sancho, and look, I still want Sancho to join. And don't get me wrong, Coutinho is a very good player, but if you're looking at now prioritizing finances and trying to allocate money into areas where we need it more, a striker, for me, left back, centre back are more pressing concerns than another playmaker. When you've got the likes of Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, you can all operate in that, you know, left centre zone, in between lines and create. Obviously, I know people like strength in depth, but like I said, it's all about allocation of resources when you're dealing with a pandemic. I'm not too keen.
I think, you know, Coutinho is a great player on his own right, but I don't know. The minute you know, it was announced that financial fair play regulations are going to be like reduced and not so severe for you know, next season, I guess, then that just got me thinking straight away. Surely this is like what we have to do to fully go in for Sancho right now, because if you're asking me, it's probably us and Man United fighting to sign him. I don't imagine Sancho signing for Liverpool, people with Salah and Mane. I mean, it's not going to work. United, the only thing they have to offer is a lot of money. So I think now that regulations have, you know, eased a lot more, is this not like the perfect time to just go in massive for Sancho and, you know, sign someone that's, you know, has a big possibility of being one of the, you know, one of the generational talents of this decade? Like, Alex, like, what do you think, man? Do you think that now is time to do that?
Yeah, I feel really wrong. I feel like a bad person for saying take advantage of this situation and now go all in for Sancho. But the facts are the facts, and maybe it will be easier on a team like Chelsea now compared to others. Obviously, their competition is Manchester United, who have plenty of money to spend as well. But yeah, I mean, I just think this is the perfect storm for Chelsea to go all in for Sancho. The perfect storm meaning, obviously, no transfer window last summer. You had one in January, but you stayed cautious and didn't do anything. Sure, you got Ziyech, but nonetheless, a lot of signs and arrows have been pointing towards this being a spending summer. You even have Bruce Buck, the chairman, joking about it when he was sitting down for a press conference with Frank at some point. So it's just been kind of obvious that the whole plan, just from
it's to sound like a big marquee player, right? Yeah.
What was that?
It's like the plan. I was just going to add to what you were saying. It's to surely sound like a big marquee player. Like, I think as a fan base, as a club, to really show that, you know, we're about competing and we want to go to the next level, you know, surely we need to spend big now on like a big name signing for the team.
Right. So, I mean, that was the plan. The plan was to kind of accept that transfer ban last summer. Yeah, you appealed
Yeah.
it, but you didn't really try hard for it actually to be frozen. And the plan was then to roll out with the youth, see what you could do with your returning loanees and young players, figure out who can hang, who can't hang. And then because at the time, as you know,
Yeah.
we assumed we weren't going to be able to make moves in January anyway, attack the following summer, this coming summer, hard with where you need obvious help, like holes, like left back or something like that, but where you could also just use some bolstering up. And as our money gets thrown around too much, like I think fans think about money way too simplistically, but nonetheless, we know that Chelsea have some money to spend. And yeah, they are kind of missing the big quality signings, not the quantity, let's just sign anyone, but the big quality signings.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't worry, Matisse, I'm not going to talk about amortization in this episode. but literally, your Tammys, your Reeses, your Masons, your Callums, your Billy Gilmores, your Fakayos allow you to now attack the market and go after the big fish because you can afford the big fish. What you can't afford is the players like Coutinho would be if you bought him, where you're not 100% sold it's going to work, but you have the money, so you're going to do it anyway. And now, to a lesser extent, that's obviously your Michis, your Zappacostas, your Drinkwaters, even to an extent, your Kepas. And listen, I want him to do well, but that does fit in that tier, at least with Coutinho, if you were to buy Coutinho. No, your homegrown players now allow you to go out there and try and get a Jadon Sancho. They do. So for so many reasons, Sancho is the guy. On Coutinho, I agree with Matisse. Like, he and I think, have really similar views on Coutinho, maybe for different reasons, but like similar conclusions where I'm totally against buying him. I think it's what you would do playing FIFA. Like, I've heard so many people reason, oh, well, Coutinho is better than any of our attackers right now, so you buy him. Like, I hate that simplistic reasoning. Oh, why? Because like he obviously has had moments for Liverpool, Barcelona, and Bayern, and he has obvious ability.
Moments.
That makes him obviously a great signing. You're not going to think about how he fits with the team from a tactical or a personal standpoint. You're not going to think about any of that. And just because he automatically would technically be the highest rated FIFA-wise in the Chelsea squad, you buy him? No, that's not how you build a team. And you don't just spend to spend. You spend on a plan. Like, there was a great article that came out this past week about Scott McLaughlin and how, Chelsea and many teams in general, but how Chelsea go about assessing targets, and we can criticize them here and there, and they absolutely deserve it. But there's a thorough thought process behind who they look for and what profile they fit. So, yeah, I do believe that Coutinho stuff has some legs to it. The loan, though, like, I think getting Coutinho on loan, there's validity. Like, I know there's validity, but buying, not what I've heard. So that makes me happy to know that. And if I were to attack it from Frank's standpoint, because we do know Frank's got a role in this stuff now, which is great. I think Frank could rationalize a loan in, okay, well, he's a quality player. He's played in the league before. He's got talent. And a loan is very low risk. If I decide 2 weeks into the season, you know what? Ruben's kicking on. Ruben looks fit. Mason has taken another step in his development. Pulisic and Callum, they're fit. They're playing great. And you know what? Coutinho's not meshing as well as I wanted him to. I don't think Frank on a loan would have any problem sitting Coutinho for a while. But if you buy Coutinho, you're sending a different message. You're sending a message that Coutinho is one of your guys now. He is one of your guys to put on advertisements. He's one of your guys to say, this is one of the top players for Chelsea. This is one of our marquee players. And I personally don't think that's what Frank's trying to do. So a loan, Frank's looking at it like, well, it could help us achieve even better things next season. But if it doesn't work out, we have no obligation, only option to buy. So I'm in favor of a loan, but last thing, if you gave me an option of going for him at all or going for him or not going for him, I would still not go for him. But I can rationalize and I can be okay with a loan.
Yeah, I think I get you guys' arguments, of course, the business side behind this still. Yeah, there's some business sense. But I'm just thinking about the football sense now. I'm just thinking, okay, we could be going into, actually, who knows if we're going to restart the season again or what. I keep thinking about second season all the time. But for me, it is going to be like a second season because all our young guys are going to be like 1 year older. You know, Lampard's going to have, actually probably not Zia. Oh my God, this is getting confusing now. It's getting really confusing. But I just think that, you know, we have to make a signing to show that we're ready to go on to the next level right now. I think a Coutinho would symbolize, like, you know, a lack of progression in that sense due to like the financial nature behind the deal. I think that if you, here's the, oh my God, we're talking about signing Coutinho. So, you know, if we are going to sign him, that means that we could sign someone else. And I just think that if that's the case, you know, you need to sign a player that's going to be here for the long term. You're going to sign a player that you're going to build the team around for years. I don't think you want to take more risks with Coutinho. I think at Barca, he hasn't done it. At Bayern, he's lost his place out now. I think, you know, he's gone to a higher level than Liverpool. And we have to remember at the time when Coutinho was balling out for Liverpool, he was playing in a much weaker Liverpool team. They aren't as good as they are now. Yeah. And I just don't see Coutinho even getting back in this team.
He was the guy for a lesser team, but when he's been on Barcelona, I mean, he's been good for Bayern this season, but nonetheless, like, is he the guy who's going to be the guy for a top team?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Bayern, we know Bayern Munich. Listen, they take chances on, I wouldn't say like the discards on big teams because that's too disrespectful. But you know, when they've signed players like your Robins, you know, they've just signed that Oridio Zola, whatever his name is, from Real.
James Rodriguez as well.
Yeah. James Rodriguez. You know, they will take a chance in these players that don't have spaces for the big teams. So if Bayern aren't going to buy, and especially when you're comparing how Bayern play to us, you know, Bayern are where we could be in 2 years' time. You know, we play fundamentally the same type of football, you know. So if Coutinho can't cut it out for Bayern Munich, then why do we need like a B-tier player that's just going to stop progressions of your guys like your Pulisic and your Hudsons and your Rubens when he comes back? Because we've completely forgotten that when Ruben comes back, you know, he most likely will take a first team spot when he returns. And I'm just thinking, you know, if I've got Ruben in my team, do I really need Coutinho anywhere near this club? I don't think so.
Yeah, I want to, just real quickly, I want to bring up something Matisse said on Twitter, and I thought it was a great point, so I'll make it for him again.
Yeah.
Regarding Ruben, like, you can't have your finger in every pie. So if you are really gung-ho about Coutinho and you're going to rib me like, oh, you love Mount, Alex, so obviously you're going to be anti-Coutinho. No, I've said many times, I want competition. I want the team to be as good as possible. It's not me protecting my favorites, but I also have belief in someone like Mount. But we all have belief in Ruben. So on Ruben, you can't play your card on both sides. Like, you can't say, well, we need Coutinho because Ruben has an injury history. To an extent, you can play that with caution. But if you're going to keep mentioning the injury history with Ruben as to why you need other players, that, by the way, Coutinho, if you buy him, is not going to be fine just riding the pine. He's not going to be fine just being on the bench. Like, there's going to have to be a risk or a gamble in one way you go. So if you're going to keep mentioning Ruben's injury history, you're kind of telling us you'd be okay with moving on from Ruben and then buying a Coutinho. Like, you got to have one more solidified stance. You can't just pick and choose here.
Just to extend from that, like, I if anything, was very cautious on Ruben because, like I said, he's coming back from injury, and I know once he comes back, the fan base will have their expectations rammed up to a massive extent because they're looking for now superstar performances when really we should be giving him the time to get back to fitness. He's going to have cameos. You know, for me, he was managed very well last season when he did come back from injury. That would need to happen again because I'd rather, to be honest, Ruben play 25 games and not have another injury than play every game and get injured again because I think, you know, that would, you know, cause a problem in itself. But, you know, everybody was so excited for Ruben. And, you know, let's not forget, he basically was playing in the reserve. So he's very close to fitness and everybody's very excited. And I just feel like people forget about that exciting feeling that they had when a Coutinho comes into the newspapers, which we don't even know if it's a legit concrete rumor or not.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have everything because at the end of the day, you can build like Man City, which a lot of people have said. Then not all their players will not remain happy. Sané is looking leave? You know, do you want a situation where Ruben's like, okay, I'm back to match full fitness now, but you've got Coutinho here.
Yeah,
Maybe
loan signing over me. You give me a new contract worth like 150k or something, and then this is what I mean, you know. And
this is why I'm in favor of the loan, because I feel like the loan it doesn't send out a message to the current players, and it doesn't also put all your eggs in the Coutinho basket. Because to be honest, if you're looking at, I'm just talking about Chelsea fans in general, were any of you really trying to get Coutinho before the link? I always look at that.
That's what I mean. You got a point, my friend.
Thank you.
If you wasn't asking for a player before you were linked with them, then did you really want that player, and did that really fit the ideology that you were planning? Nobody was
speaking facts, man.
Where was this energy before the links? Where was all of this? Oh, Goldberg, you idiot! Why would you not want Coutinho really bad?
I know.
Where were you?
Where was the compilation clips?
Before the links?
Well, how come I haven't seen a single clip of anything he's done at Bayern Munich? Everything I've seen is from goals from 2-3 years ago. Like, you know what I mean?
By the way, why did so many people, not to cut you off, but I get pissed about this. Why did so many people agree with my hashtag Coutinho hashtag last summer when I didn't want to literally freeze the ban just to get him to have him be our Eden Hazard replacement, which would have been a horrible decision. And at that time, someone like Mount and Ruben had just shown us a good season, but he was injured. So at that time, there was a lot more uncertainty than now. Now the youngsters have actually showed you they can hang. So now you're just willing to be like, oh, whatever, let's just get Coutinho now. So why? Just because now the rumor seems a little bit more feasible, a little bit more credible, now you're going gung-ho on it when the whole year you were silent and you were happy to pass last summer. So listen, stay with your logic. Whatever your logic is, I could disagree with it very strongly, but stay with it.
Hey, Alex, you guys, you heard Alex speak. You heard Alex talk then, you know, stay with it. You're right. And, you know, for everyone getting excited by the stories, I think obviously this is why Coutinho has such amazing agents, because of course, you know, let's not forget agents, you know, if they're going to cash in on a deal, they need to sell their client, you know, and it's quite obvious that they're pushing this story in like the British press, and it's a slow news day. We've seen the stories. We see journalists like every time there's like an update on the story, it's like one new half a sentence added, and then they fill the rest of the article talking about things we already know about. And I'm just thinking at this point in time, we have to just understand what's really happening, because you guys were asking me, you know, I've been running this channel for like a few seasons now, and one doubt the fan base always has is how ambitious is our board. But now we've got the money, now we've got this new philosophy of playing amazing football, now we have, you know, all the tools that we need for success. What's more ambitious to you, like Jadon Sancho, you're battling Man United to sign one of Europe's very best, or Philip Coutinho?
The way his name. You really did that on purpose, didn't you?
No, I'm sorry, man. I just can't be seeing a guy in Coutinho where when I've got Ziyech, you can play 8 and 10. I got Mount that plays 8-10, Ruben 8-10. I need another guy that can do that. You know what I mean? And a guy that's not going to run or jack back, a guy that's just going to, you know, take long shots from any area he wants. And then, you know, nah. I'm not trying to like play some type of dead football, you know? So,
and by the way, how many fans, I'm not saying you want this, Nini, but how many fans Matisse have been calling for Christian Pulisic to also play the 10? So I don't even think some fans listen to their own logic.
Yeah, I mean,
ideally you do want to be built like Manchester City, but like you said, that doesn't necessarily work for all the players at Manchester City. Has it provided silverware? Yes, but it is a very unrealistic model to build off of. And really, I think even though Liverpool have been extraordinary this season, they're a much more realistic model to build like, where you have your clear staples, your clear stars, but you need role players. Like you absolutely need role players as well. And these guys, Pulisic doesn't want to be just a role player. Callum Hudson-Odoi doesn't want to just be a role player. Ruben doesn't want to just be a role player. Mason doesn't just want to be a role player. And they're not going to cause unrest in the dressing room, but they have ambition. So right now it's like, I heard all of this stuff, and I'm not going to rehash it, about how giving Tammy Abraham 180K could completely ruin the wage structure, and it could cause turmoil and a horrible trickle-down effect. I promise you, buying someone like Philip Coutinho, buy him, and then have him really be prioritized over someone like Ruben, or especially if Ruben's fit, or Pulisic or whatever, that's going to do way more damage. I promise you.
Yeah, way more. Yeah, but you guys, I'm starting to get a bit of a headache talking about Coutinho. I think now, to move the conversation forward, if we could sign one marquee signing, one big marquee name, we know names such as Martinez, names such as, you know, Sancho, and so many. Starting with you, Matisse, because you're always popping up on screen first. Alex, I don't know why. You know what I mean? But starting with you, Matisse, who would be that big marquee signing you'd go for, and tell us why?
For me, it has to be Lautaro Martinez. It's a player that I didn't even speak of before the link, and mainly because I just never thought the club would ever even dare go near him. Like, he's one of those players where I just thought he's just not too good, but I just feel like we're not that smart, really. Are we really that smart to go and pick up a player like that? And then little do you know, up he comes. I mean, he's a player for me that he's been playing off Lukaku for a lot of the season. A lot of people feel like he can't hang it on his own. I think if you was to play the creative wingers that we have around him, your Ziyech's, your Pulisic's, your Mounts, your Rubens, all of these creative players around him, I think you can get service to him and he'll score goals.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a reason in his finishing technique or anything to say that he won't get the goals. And then people that say, well, listen, what about Tammy? He doesn't have to play up front on his own. He can play off Tammy. That's another option that you have there as well. He's played off Lukaku. He can play off Tammy. We know Frank likes to be flexible. I would prefer if he did stick to a bit more of a system next season and not be so erratic with the formations. But if he doesn't choose to go with the one system and he continues to be quite flexible with the systems, then, Lautaro gives you a lot of options, because it allows you to go two up front if you want goals in a game. You look at when we scored our most goals ever in a league season, it was with Anelka and Drogba up front. And that was a formidable partnership. And Lautaro is used to playing in a partnership. I think Tammy could even do better with a partnership. You look how many times Tammy's maybe isolated or he's having to deal with two defenders. He's making runs into the box for crosses and he's coming up against two centre-backs. Someone like Martinez takes that responsibility off of him. And he's a player that I've been watching quite since really last season when Inter Milan when Juventus were dominating. I just thought he was the next player in that team to make that step up. He's got a very similar style to Aguero. And I remember when we missed out on Aguero, and I think we all do. And it's not a nice feeling. I feel like he, you can tell he's being linked with the likes of Barcelona, teams that play attractive football, play a certain way. And I just feel it would be a fantastic acquisition. And like I said, he doesn't have to block Tammy, but he provides very good competition for Tammy as well. Tammy knows, listen, if you're not scoring goals, if you're missing big chances and big headers, you will be on the bench for him. But if you are scoring, then you can start. There's no reason why not. And like I said, Lautaro can play behind the striker. He's done that a lot as well, and he's a very flexible player. So that's my guy. And I do put him just over Sancho because I do have a lot of belief in Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic. I think they are potential world-class talents. Whereas we don't have anyone other than Tammy. I think Giroud leaves, and I think Batshuayi also leaves as well. So we actually don't have any strikers. So it's just a really big priority for me.
Okay. Alex, who's that big marquee signing that you want to see? And of course, you guys sending super chats. We are not ignoring you. We're going to get back to them after this. And of course, you guys, if you want your questions prioritized, right near as the stream's ending, we're going to go through all the super chats. So thank you for the support, and obviously thank you for watching. But yeah, Alex, man, take over.
I'll keep my answer really brief, which is very rare for me. Mine's Jadon Sancho, because I think the best way for me to answer is like, God forbid I was in a coma, right, for the summer. And I woke up in, I don't know, late August or early September, and I asked, who'd we sign? And you told me we only signed one player. And out of all the players you could tell me that are feasible, not like Messi, who would give me the most excitement? It would be Sancho. Like, if you told me, like, we've 100% signed Jadon Sancho, turn on the television, he's playing for Chelsea right now in a blue kit, like, that would bring me the most excitement. So that's probably my true authentic answer.
Yeah.
And I also see wing, like, a little bit different, just really quickly. Like, I like Lautaro, Matisse. Lautaro Martinez. I like him quite
from England.
I still don't think the R is in front of the T, but that's just me. Anyway, I love Matisse, so I'll rip him on it.
Yeah.
But I like
Matisse,
Lautaro.
man, I flop all the time. But yeah.
I like him, and Matisse and I have already done that whole kind of debate on how it affects Tammy, but nonetheless, Matisse knows, like, if given the chance to sign Lautaro, I would, because I really like him. But for me with Sancho, it's like, having 3 wingers you rate is still easier than 2 strikers you really rate. Now, it would be great to have 2 strikers you really rate. Like, I would still take that problem. But giving me Sancho, Pulisic, and Hudson-Odoi, like, they can all get ample starts, and that's just a great problem to have. It really is. And if you wanted to play 4-2-3-1 and Mount wasn't playing in the 10 for a game, like, Pulisic absolutely could play the 10. You have options there. So you can just do a lot of things. But for me, like, Sancho, if he is my perfect acquisition, which he is, he ticks every box for me. How could he be? He's my answer.
If I put this to you, because me and Nini I remember last time we spoke as well, it was on Touchline Fracas, and they've put up a really good point on this, just to put this to you, Alex, with the wingers. A lot of people are saying Ziyech will play wide right, because, you know, he cuts in, I know he'll drift central, you know, for Ajax. Sometimes he's seen in the most deepest midfield position. People, I don't know if they know how much he drifts and how much he needs to drift to get on the ball and actually be effective, but they do feel he'll play wide right. Well, that means now you have 4 top wingers who expect to start. And if we look down the years, and this is something they brought up really well at Touchline Fracas, is that you look at when we had the likes of Duff, Robben, you know, you can go through all of the set of wingers we've had in the Roman Empire, you know, even when you've had your Salahs and Schürrles behind your Hazards and Matisse, there's never room really for 4 wingers of that ilk to be rotated without one of them getting unsettled and having to leave.
Yeah, listen, it's a great point, because I do agree that Ziyech will probably start a good amount of games technically at right wing. So I don't forget him in my reasoning for wanting Sancho, but I do forget him when I mentioned just Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi. But see, I see Ziyech next season. This is just my guess, and I've spoken to a lot of people who follow Ajax closely, and they definitely think, like, if you had to pick one spot he'll line up at the most, it would probably be right wing. But I see him, assuming Frank, Matisse, I know you want him, and I know many people want him to be a little bit more solidified in what he does next season, not just jump around. And some of that's been him finding himself as a manager. Some of that has been the injuries. But nonetheless, I still expect him to have a couple formations in his pocket.
Exactly.
And I see Ziyech playing the right wing, the 10, and even like a right center mid, which he's played at Ajax plenty. Like, he's also lined up in the midfield if they've had Neres and Quincy Promes and Tadic, and they've had so many toys at Ajax. Ziyech is lined up in a lot of spots. And as you've kind of alluded to, and as everybody knows, Ziyech is really best in a free roll. So I think you can find many situations, and maybe some of it is based on, do Chelsea sell one of Jorginho or N'Golo Kante? Because now all of a sudden you have Kovacic, and you have Mount and Ruben for midfield spots, but maybe you only have one of Jorginho and Kante.
And it's very simple, Alex. If that's the case, between Jorginho and Kante, of course, is Kante you're keeping, and it links onto the previous point. It links onto the previous point you made about Ziyech.
But I just want to finish my answer to Matisse.
Yeah, of course, man. Finish.
Comparing it to like City, they do have, they have a lot of players who can play that wing position, but like Bernardo Silva has been a player for them who can play in like a midfield role where he's still Bernardo Silva, but he's playing in a midfield role, or we've seen him be on the right wing before. So I see Ziyech being like just Lampard's secret weapon, where kind of like Mount this season, and maybe Mount will still do that a good amount next season, but he can rest players like rest Callum, rest Pulisic, rest Kovacic, rest Ruben, rest Mount, with the ability for Ziyech to really line up in a crap load of spots. I am coming around on Ziyech so much because I think his versatility and just his special quality in his own right is really unfound in this team, besides Mount being versatile. But I think it could work.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, like, Ziyech is going to be his key. Everyone's like, I think maybe the reason why people love Coutinho is because, sorry about that, my girl's actually making wings right now, but he's making he's making a real loud noise in the kitchen. I don't know, I'm hearing lots of banging and water splashing. I'm getting kind of worried now, you guys. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think the fan base's issue is the creativity. I think a lot of people feel like we're lacking that, creativity, and maybe is a Ziyech, Ruben, Hudson, Pulisic. Are they enough? Yeah, go on. Hey, interrupt, man. You guys, I guess.
I've heard this point so many times, and I think I understand the fear, because obviously we did struggle to break down teams quite often last season. But I want people to add up how many games Pulisic played how many games Hudson-Odoi played, how many
Exactly.
It lost its cheek play last season. Like, this is what I'm saying. We didn't have the most creative season, but we did still create quite a lot of chances. I know people say the quality of chances were low because really Reece James was our only outlet at the right wing. But remember, it was Pedro and Willian playing a majority, not so much Pedro, but Willian taking one of those creative roles up so much of the time this season. We know Mason Mount in terms of creativity could improve as well, but he's getting there. So when you bring back a Loftus-Cheek, a Pulisic, and a Hudson-Odoi, plus Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi plus Ziyech.
Yeah. Like, how much creativity do we want now? Like,
yeah, I mean, you're going to have so much creativity. It's going to be just Man City, where I remember where David Silva didn't even tap the ball in for an open goal. He actually tried to pass it again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We do need finishers. And Coutinho is not a finisher. And I know people will go mad.
From outside the box, from 25 yards he is.
So he scores from 30 yards. I've seen them. They're great. But he doesn't actually score many more goals than Willian. If you look on average per season, it's actually about 2 goals. And then the one season where he had an absolute blinder, don't get me wrong, world class that season where he was Liverpool to Barcelona. If he played like that every season, I would take Coutinho blindfolded. But if you look, which his goal output is about 2 more, then Willian. So he's not a finisher. That's my point. So if you want more creativity, then Ruben and Ziyech will play more games, more than, and you should get that.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully. I think, yeah, man. That that's ultimately the thing. I think our biggest issue is not taking our chances, not even creating. If you look at the stats, I mean, yeah, we're behind Liverpool and Man City, but they're the only 2 clubs in front of us when it comes to chance creation, shots on goal, all those types of key stats. And I think obviously adding Ziyech to that is just really adding even more creativity, because Ziyech is creative master, and I just think that, I mean, I can envision what Lampard's thinking. Imagine, let's say we're using 4-2-3-1 against, Burnley, or like Everton or something. You got Ziyech on the right hand side. He's cutting and playing between the lines, and because he's moving in more infield positions, it means that then Kante will then sit a bit deeper, not having to get forwards, and then you've got N'Golo Kante that everyone thinks is only good at just winning tackles and running really hard and playing with a smile on his face. Well, I guess he's doing those things that people want to see more. And if he's doing that, it means that it's... I'm sounding bare cynical, I know. But if he's doing that, then surely that makes the team stronger. If you've got Kante sitting a bit deeper, helping to mop up counter-attacks, which is what he made his name doing, So I just think that... Our issue maybe is taking chances. I think a lot of that comes down to, these are like young players, young players that, we don't think about the human side. You got to think, if you're playing in front of a Stamford Bridge crowds, I've seen Tammy score the goals that he's been missing this season. And if you're asking me, it purely just comes down to maybe that confidence and nerves. And I think as you get more experience and that experience builds your confidence playing at this level, then you're not going to panic when you're in front of goal in certain situations. Because of course, at this level, you're thinking in your head, if I miss this chance, I'm thinking it's going to have this repercussion, that repercussion. Football becomes very serious at the very top. So I think what all these guys have done has been really good for first season development. I mean, Tammy, 18 goals. I mean, could people even think he would even get anywhere near those numbers? Of course not. And if he didn't get those injuries during that month where he lost his reputation because he played through the pain, I remember back in the day, there were qualities that we used to rate in players, Imagine you're seeing a 22-year-old who's got a bust-up ankle, still taking injections every week to try and play because Lampard needs him for the team. And for me, it's just a bit of a disappointment that, qualities like that is just completely forgotten. Instead, it's just getting, he's not good enough, therefore let's buy another striker, blah, blah, blah. I just think, come on, you guys, come on. Let's understand that we've got a long-term project here. If we're going to expect instant results straight away, then you're only setting yourself up for L's, you know what I mean, and disappointment and all that bad stuff. But yeah, I think now would be a good time to talk about some of the go through some of the super chats. I think it's time for that now. And let's start with the first one. Obviously, Harry Truman, thank you, bro. Let's not pretend this season's voids is not good for us. Yep, I agree. Luke, and again, thank you, man. Luke, do we need another striker? And if so, who? Well, I think we've been answering your question, bro. PZ Drift, thank you, man. Would Alex still sign Neres now? I think Alex is going to come back. if I was to guess, probably his phone's ran out of power, and I think that's why it's gone right now. So it'll be
I
taken
can
over.
answer that for you. That's a no.
Exactly. So I don't think,
Hell no.
when we're talking about like Coutinho's and Sancho's, I mean, there is, you know what? If it was like, I could see how Neres makes sense if you wanted like a quality, like rotation option, a guy that's comfortable playing off the bench, which he does from Ajax. You know what I mean? Then that would be cool. Harry again, thank you, man. Mason's performance at 8 against Everton was class, and Harry, I think that's the distinction that I've been trying to make all goddamn season. Mason Mount has been used in a role that isn't going to lead to creativity. That isn't about, it's about being excellent on the ball with as few touches as possible. And I think this is why you can only see guys like your Mullers, who are like older pros, who can really play that role to its fullest. As we've seen in the past games when he's played as like a cam, or when he's played as an 8, haven't we seen the creativity and like him running with the ball and like a completely different player? I'm asking you, Matisse. Like,
oh, you're asking me? Well, I mean, I thought you was explaining it in terms of Mount. I mean, look, he's had, and for me, he's played too many games. It's actually, it's not something that, for me, for his development, I would have said that was the perfect scenario for him, that Ruben's injured so much. I think it would have been better for him if he didn't have to play so much. Because I often think, I remember one game against Ajax where he was really frustrating me. I think it was the home game in the first half where he was really, really off form and really playing poorly. And I was just like, what is going on with Mount? Because I've watched him at Vitesse and I've watched him at Derby. And he's got an eye for a pass. He's got a free kick in him. He's got technical ability. But I haven't seen it so much this season at times. And I just think it's also down to the amount of games. I think he's had to play too many games. Yeah. When you have to play, every single Premier League game, nearly, that's going to take a toll on your body. I honestly would, I think we would have seen more of him if, one, he was played, in the 8, which he looks really good in, but also if he was a lot more of a rest, but we obviously couldn't do it with injuries.
I mean, as I've been saying, Lampard's use him as like the shadow striker because of, this is why we've signed Ziyech. Our creativity, like anytime we think of creativity, we think of like number 10s, but it's too traditional. Like football's moved on from them. It's modernized. It's a lot more fluid. It's a lot more positional. It's a lot more rotational. You know what I mean? And the creativity comes from your Hudsons. I mean, I know you've seen the stats on social media. You've seen, his pass completion rates, his chance creation, his, all the key stats in the final third. That's what you want. And, this season, him coming back from a serious injury, which I think at times, we just seem to not really like understand as a fan base, We've missed out on that creativity at Pulisic. I mean, the dribbles. We've missed out on that one-on-one ability. How much? Yeah. I mean, he's just been getting like we've never known when he's gonna come back. And every time you think it's gonna be next week, then you never hear anything again. And of course, missing out on prospects like that is gonna affect things because they were providing that creativity in the wide areas.
Yeah, I mean, if people remember rightly, when Pulisic first came onto the scene, when Lampard eventually got him into the team, he got quite a few assists. If you look at Pulisic. This season, he's played 14 games less than Willian. He's actually got just one less goal contribution. One. Yeah. So he got a lot of assists in his time. I think he's on maybe 6 assists or 6 goals. So he's got.
That's what I mean.
No, sorry, 6 goals and 6 assists, and then Willian's got 7
exactly. And my thing is, hypothetically, let's say the season started, but Hudson never had no ACLs where Pulisic didn't get any injury to, and you could consistently rely upon them. I think fans be moaning about lack of finishing on goal instead of creativity. Yes, you know what I mean? So I think that we need to obviously, look at the whole perspective. I think sometimes we can like look at things just from here and we can forget about what happened yesterday, what happened last month, key details, what Lampard said in conferences, and paint some negative pictures. But hey, it's great to see that Alex is back here, man. What happened in the end?
I've been here the whole time.
What happened in the end? Let me guess. Your phone ran out of power.
No, I thought I was charging it as I did this.
Yeah.
You want to know the real embarrassing reason? I had the charger connected to my computer. I'm doing this off my phone.
Yeah.
And I've been charging it through the computer. But then I decided to shut off the computer. That was shutting off the charge.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Folks. It's cool. It's cool. That reminds me, I'm on 3%, so I need to put my phone on the cable now. But of course, let me go back to the super chats. Luke, I just realised that I didn't even we didn't answer his question properly. If Luke, if you're still here, apologies. Do we need another striker, and if so, who? So I think, yeah, we do need another striker. You know, Mitchie, it was never good enough for this level, unfortunately. Great guy, but he isn't. And Giroud, well, you know, he'll sign his new contract and then we'll earn some money from his sale. So we do need to sign a striker. Of course, Matisse, you want Lautaro. If you're asking me, I don't know. I think that I just don't see us spending like 80 mil plus on 2 players. I think it's only going to be 1. And I think maybe Sancho's need for the team would be greater than Lautaro when you're going to like have 50% game time with Tammy. I'm not too sure. But so I'm going to ask you, if we couldn't sign Lautaro, who would be the second striker that you'd obviously want to bring in?
A striker that I was quite keen on was Moussa Dembele.
Yeah.
Now I know he doesn't have the same potential wise, but I still feel like for the squad he'd be quite good. I think he's also more likely to do a rotational role or even a deputy role. And one thing I like about Dembele is he has the variety of finishing. He's very confident on his left foot. I always look at that with a striker. How confident are you on your weaker foot? The variety of goals you can score. He's no shame to scoring headers. Of course, he's right-footed, so he'll get those. And you know, he can run in behind. He's got the hold-up play as well. He can come short. And what I like about him is he's got the experience playing in Scotland. And you've seen how many players have come from there. Your Robertsons, your Van Dijks. You know, even
2 players.
Come
on, 2 players. They're the only ones.
I think Eduardo as well there now is quite highly rated as well.
Yeah. He looks, he's very silky. But again, he like when people say they like Eduardo, because I know why you like Eduardo, because how he runs on the ball, his skills, that he's one of those strikers that create space. That's what I call him. Like Aguero. Like there was a stat that came out today that Aguero is like top 5 dribblers over the past 5 years, and everyone was like really surprised. But if you watch his game, he's not beating like 5 men in a row, but he's beating someone consistently all the time to create space for a shot. And this is why I like Dembele, because I think that's the same type of skills that Moussa has, you know?
I like him a lot. I think he can operate in, I wouldn't be against seeing him out wide. It's obviously not his stronger position, but I just feel like he can operate in multiple zones. And like I said, his experience with in Scotland, that's got him Premier League ready. I think, you know, this is quite a tough league, Scotland, physically. So I think adaptation wise, I think he'd do quite well to fit in quickly. That's my main thing as well. I don't want a striker who's maybe going to take some time to adapt. I think we've had enough of those down the years. In terms of anyone else, there's not really too many names. I mean, a lot of people obviously like Jovic as well from Real Madrid. I was a big fan of his last year when rumors were going around that we would get him.
But I'm not seeing now. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of nuance and details as to why he's been having a difficult season at Madrid. But I just think that to barely play, and
I think Benzema's incredible.
Zidane's gonna, you know, if he doesn't think you have it, then maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reality we don't want to accept. But of course, other strikers on the list, Richarlison. You know, Richarlison. You know, he's a player that's he probably wouldn't mind signing for us. You know, his age. I always thought there was like this plan that he would eventually come for us as his agent, and has always been in good relationships with the club. What do you guys think about Richarlison? Now, Alex, I'll let you come on, because obviously, no offense, Matisse, man. No offense. You'll talk again soon. Don't worry.
Time for the real man to talk.
Spit that knowledge, bro.
I mean, actually, I think Richarlison is an interesting one because he could actually fill 2 roles. Like, he could play striker and he could play out wide. And for me, I always think there's been interest in Richarlison. I think that's quite obvious. Like, he's been a consistent rumor, and he's also been like a consistent rumor from someone like Matt Law, who I know may not get everything right, but Matt Law is a pretty good guy to base rumors off of. So, like, if you're hearing a name from Matt Law consistently, he didn't just make it up. Like, it did come somewhere from the club. He's got good club connections. So Richarlison is someone that clearly the club has been interested in to a certain degree. And the positive of him is he's still young. He is clearly talented, and he's Premier League proven. Like, he's proved in league he can perform, which I'm always a big fan of, an in-league acquisition like that, because there shouldn't be some big mystery. Can he translate to the league? I feel like Richarlison is someone that should almost be went after if Chelsea feel like they can't get Sancho, because I don't think
agree,
it's at all realistic
Yeah.
to get Sancho and someone like Richarlison. They feel like they can't get Sancho. I almost feel like Richarlison kills two birds with one stone. Now, I still think you would need to go get a striker, but maybe if Giroud wanted to stay, like you could, well, I don't know. But nonetheless, I don't think that striker you go for now has to be Moussa Dembele or Lautaro or Jovic or anybody like that. Because I think Richarlison can definitely play some striker when Tammy's not playing, can certainly play out wide. I don't think versatility in this case hurts him because he's also used to doing that in the Premier League. Everton has not always put him at one position in particular. And I do feel like he gives you depth without having two bodies, if that makes any sense. And I'm very high on that type of acquisition. So, you know, I see him get scoffed at a lot on Twitter, which, whatever, I shouldn't take Twitter seriously. I think when you kind of like write out the positives to Richarlison, you're going to find a lot more positives than negative. In league, young, still has potential, and he can play two different positions for you. You want a striker, you want Sancho. If you lose out on Sancho, he could be a 2-in-1 acquisition. I'm fairly high on that.
You know what? I completely agree with that logic, because of course Richarlison can play out wide, he can play up front by himself and with someone as well too. But again, we couldn't sign him and Sancho together. I just think you know,
he's a backup player.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think you know, reality is too, Premier League clubs don't like signing from each other because we all have money now, and clubs don't like selling to anyone. So if you're going to sign Richarlison, you're adding on a Premier League premium just to do business. And I'm just thinking, you know, if Richarlison's going to be someone that could cost up to 100 mil, because Everton, you know, Everton aren't going to be asking for 80 or something like that. They sign him for 50. So they're going to want at least double that, you know?
It really does depend how much you believe in Richarlison's potential, I guess.
You got to remember, though, this is a time where a price for Richarlison is lower because of what's going on in the world compared to maybe if this wasn't happening. I don't know Everton's standpoint financially and everything, but this is being kind of advertised as a buyer's market where a team like Everton, I'm saying like, I'm not sure their status once again, but they might not be able to demand as much for a player like that than they normally could.
Yeah, I mean, they have very rich owners, and obviously Carlo Ancelotti took over. So I think there has to be a bit of ambition with that club if they are to take in a manager of that ilk. So it's a tough.
That's what I mean.
Hold on. Here's something for you.
Oh.
Everybody is talking about, well, even the people who like Zuma, right? I'm not saying a straight swap, but if you are thinking about, all right, well, like if you want to stick with Andreas Christensen, you want to stick with Tomori, which I personally do, and you also are at least interested in a center back this year or the next year, and you feel like from a business standpoint, selling Zuma while you can still get 40, maybe 50 million pounds for him is the smart thing to do, and you know Everton would take him back, maybe you could.
Good deal.
Hello?
I paused.
Oh,
so it's not just me.
Oh, there's two Alexes now. Hey.
Oh, wow. Double trouble.
It's twins on now. Mad.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Alex too. Yeah, this is the byline speaking. Yeah, sorry, Alex, man. I don't know what's happening. I think if I maybe I can send you like a new link. Maybe turn it off and join it again, because your sound's not picking up at all. Something's like glitched out right now. Sorry, man. But yeah, we'll just take over for now, you guys. We're gonna be on for like the next 10 minutes, and then afterwards we're just gonna keep it moving because I've got wings to have for dinner. I need to make sure that they haven't fallen on the floor. I've been hearing a lot of banging and everything, and I'm just getting a bit nervous now. So yeah, Alex is making a great point about the market under this current situation, and you know, clubs can't get all the money they want due to, you know, probably a global recession that's going to come. So I probably think if you wanted to sign players from Ligue 1, you could have a possibility now. We've already seen that, you know, like a Gabriel's price has come down by 10 million already. Dembele, I can imagine his price becoming a lot more affordable than the 60 million originally projected. I think you could get him for 40. If you're willing to pay a bit more cash up front and not be too mad with the
add on.
clauses, saying like, "Oh, I'll pay you 10 million if you use like Ballon d'Or or whatever like that." Then I think you could do business. So this is why I think, the reason why I'm even saying this, because like, didn't Dortmund's like Clemens come out and talk about, if Sancho was to go, are they going to get like the 120, 140 million they think? Probably not. I think more likely to get like as long as they get bids over 105 million, I think you can do business. So I think that's definitely an asset we're not really considering enough. How is this financial situation going to affect how much business we can do?
Yeah, it's very hard to predict how the market's going to go. I mean, for me, it could go either way. It could be a club like Dortmund may say, listen, we're not even going to get rid of Sancho because we're losing money than we could get in a year's time.
Yeah.
Just going to hold on, or they could go the other way and obviously sell them out cheaper. It really just depends in what they want to do. It's going to be weird. It could be like a ripple effect with one club does something, and it kind of just trails off afterwards into a load of other deals. It's just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, see how it goes. There's some angry people in the chat. Hey, is the stream offline? It's not offline, but everything's working smooth. I've got like over 400 people on, so you have to check your connection out, bro.
It must be you. This is a you problem.
Hey, thank you. So, let me just like go back to this. Yeah, let me just take the chat off for that. That kind of pissed me off for a second then. But yeah, I will wait for Alex to come on. If not, then we'll wrap up soon because my dinner is really going to be ready soon. I think one player to maybe talk about, Declan Rice. Do you think there's a possibility that he could one day represent us?
Yeah, I mean, we were speaking about that before.
Before.
I think with Declan, my issue with him is that his timeline and time frame mirrors up with Ampadu and Gilmour, and I personally prefer them both in that position over Declan. I feel like they have the off the ball traits, tracking your runners, winning tackles, winning headers, Gilmour even, but also higher potential as well when it comes to on the ball, what they can do. Whether it's passing through lines, you look at...
It's very important in modern day football, passing
huge.
through the lines.
I mean, not to compare them to Busquets, but a player that can pass it through the lines really does skip a whole...
Yeah, different dimension.
It's a different dimension. I mean, I look at how many times...
Yeah.
I look at how well we could have done sometimes if we had... I see Mason take up some really good positions in the half space and we just didn't get the ball into him sometimes. And I'm just like, if we just fizzed that ball into him in transition, we would have been up the pitch and really moving, and it takes a bit of intelligence and vision to do that, and I feel Ampadu and Gilmour have got that. So I'm not too keen on Declan Rice just because the price, it will be the Premier League premium.
Of course, Premier League premium.
Yeah, 100%. It gets in the way of Gilmour. I think Gilmour is an incredible talent.
But you know what?
Ampadu's
but even speaking about Ampadu.
Yeah.
I just think that he might stay at Leipzig again because Leipzig are guaranteed to get rid of one defender's getting sold.
I mean, I really hope he comes back here because
I look. He played much for Leipzig. Like, what is he?
I'm not sure.
Ready for first team football.
I don't know if they had a settled team. They have some very good players.
They're like challenging for the league too. But I just can't. Like, obviously, due to the lack of game time at the highest level, I think he's found a position at Leipzig now where, once a first-team defender leaves for next season, he could have a spot. I just think that for his development...
Yeah, I mean, I think it was centre-back he played against Tottenham, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think one game's not enough. You have to judge it over a whole season. And Ampadu, unfortunately, hasn't had... Even though he's been an international... He's played more international games than he has, like, league games throughout his career. So I just think that he needs... because it's not about, it's not about proving if he's good enough. It's just for the player to understand how to, what the demands are at his body, all these things that, you need to learn at this age. So I just think that if we were to introduce him straight into the first team now, another guy with a right foot, with Ampadu, listen, he could have a future in the first team in 2 years' time because he's still young. He's like 19 years old or 20. He's not even that old, Yeah. So I just think that he has a future here, but I don't think the immediate one next season is going to be that.
It would all depend on the futures of Jorginho and Kante when we're discussing this position as well, because a lot of rumours outward for those two. I don't see both of them leaving. I wouldn't even be surprised if both of them stayed. I think Frank would like both of them in his ideally. He's spoken about Jorginho's leadership qualities, and obviously Aspilicueta being phased out, first team duties, you do need some sort of leadership on the pitch. And then you talk about Kante, he speaks for himself in terms of his quality. It's just the injury problem. So I don't think he'll be ushering those two out of the club.
Yeah, I think so, man. And you know what? Just to wrap up the stream, let's just focus on one more talking point, because you know I'm having fun speaking with you guys. You know, of course I'm self-isolating and getting kind of lonely. But,
you got your girl. What about us?
yeah, but I mean, football. I'm trying to explain like tactical principles to my girl, and she's just saying to get out of the room and just piss off.
Don't throw her under the bus.
Hey, listen, she nearly tried playing a game of FIFA with me, but then
my girl's not great at FIFA either. It's shambolic.
You know what, guys? I saw this video on social media. This like it was like a couple playing basketball against each other. They were going at it. The skill level was high.
I think it was to decide who was going to be on diaper duty, right?
Wow, that's what I mean. Like, you know, I don't even know what point I was trying to make, you guys. The hunger's starting to kick in.
That's what you want.
There was
want that competitive spirit in your household.
Yeah, my girl's just giving me looks right now, so I need to just keep the language a bit safer now. But you know what? To end on another interesting debate, I think we have to talk about Jorginho. You know, Jorginho, does he stay? Does he go? Which way does it go?
I'll let you go for this, Alex, because you just came back.
Oh, how kind. Jorginho. Well, I mean, my answer is a boring answer, because my answer, like, I am more on the fence than it sounds like you, Nini, about who you sell between Jorginho and Kante. My answer is you look at selling either, but not both. And there are multiple reasons behind that. Like, who does Frank feel like he's playing just because they're that person? That's probably Kante. Like, he probably plays Kante just because he's Kante. Not all the time when he plays Kante do I think it's in the right manner or at the right time. But Kante really still is, though, the better player. And if you can put him in the right spot, like, I still think he helps your team more than Jorginho does. For me, I like Jorginho, but the reason why I had to back off of my claim that he was world-class or really, really good, like, I like him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's great, because I hear all of these revisions from even Jorginho fans on what needs to be done in order for Jorginho to play well. And it sounds like a lot of coddling for me. Like, I hear all this stuff of, oh, well, yeah, he's not great defensively, but that's because your center back and your left back aren't. Or, oh, but he needs the right guy to his left and his right. Well, okay, fine. I agree with that stuff, but does that really mean you have a great, great player on your hands if he needs all of that perfectly set up for him? No, it doesn't. Now, even Kante, when he was quote-unquote played out of position last year under Maurizio Sarri, still was one of your best players. So I probably lean towards keeping Kante more, but actually my reasoning behind that is I also think Kante's price has dropped in terms of what you could get for him. So my original charge, especially from a content perspective months ago, of do you sell Kante this summer, it's softened a bit, because I don't necessarily think you're going to get that sexy offer that you could have a season ago. So I'm indifferent. I like both players. I would say Kante is obviously still the more established player, but he's got injuries against him. So I could go either way. So if Frank sat me down in a room and told me, no, I really want to sell this player, I could be swayed that way. I think you can't sell both. You could entertain selling one, and you should entertain selling one. And Nini, I hear your point on what type of a message does it send if you sell Kante after you sold Hazard, after you sold Courtois. I hear that, but I can't be totally obsessed about the message it sends at this point. I don't think that's the number one priority. So I could go either way.
You know, for me, I just personally think now that Billy Gilmore's a thing, I just think that isn't Jorginho like kind of blocking this place. I think now, I mean, think about the midfield next season.
Well,
Ruben, Gilmore, Kante, Kovacic. I mean, sounding pretty good, no?
I mean, Gilmore is Matisse's favorite Chelsea player.
Yeah, I mean, with Gilmore, what Gilmore's done for me is he's given me a reason as to. I mean, I don't want to be the one to rush Gilmore into he must start now at most games, like nearly all the games next season. He's now like indispensable.
Got a few of them though.
Yeah, but it's very clear that
Yeah.
he needs to be a decent chunk of it because he's that good. And I don't think he's a player that you need to like cuddle into the team. He's clearly got leadership qualities within him, to shout, bark around, order players into different positions, and set up the team on the pitch how he wants them to during game, much like Jorginho does. But he's also got the zip in his passing as well. And obviously, the thing is with Gilmour is he actually does Kante and Jorginho's job. he dictates the pass. He passes in between lines. He organizes possession. He organizes the players around him. But he also tackles. He wins headers, and he's the same height, nearly enough as Kante. So he kind of does do Kante's role without the injuries. So I can make a case for either of those two seniors to look up to Billy Gilmour. not to toot his horn too highly, but he is basically the combination of both those players. If you that way. So, you look at Billy's ball recovery, the way he tracked Mane's run, which would have been a certain one-on-one. He's got the defensive awareness to do so. He's got the maturity. He's played that position, all of his youth set up. So he's very, very familiar with it. I personally think he's, he is the ready-made replacement for the both of them. So it's just who you want to usher out the team slowly in next season with the idea. Both of them.
And I think I want to add in one sentence. I think it's also important to realize that we're saying this, we're entertaining this, selling one of Jorginho or Kante, also because Mateo Kovacic has just been so amazing. And even though Kovacic was played in a few different roles this season, no matter where he was played, he looked like a phenomenal midfielder. So we would not be saying this if it weren't for Kovacic's massive leap in progression at Chelsea.
I think the only thing that I'd like to see from Kovac for next season is his performances in big games. I'm still waiting for that big boy performance against like one of the best teams. I think that it can definitely come. He's definitely got it in his locker room, and maybe because he's been forced to play with Jorginho, that has maybe affected how he can play at times too. With Jorginho, it is how I see players. You guys got to understand. I think you know this by now. I'm a very abstract thinker. I don't like think of things in a very like practical, concrete way. I'm very abstract, and my understanding of Jorginho is that if you're going to play him as a regista, then you're going to have one of the best players in that position in the world. If you're going to play Jorginho in a team where it's possession football, you're very compact and narrow, like we were under Sarri last year. Then that's when Jorginho shines, because he's not the deep line playmaker. That's the difference. Jorginho is someone that's gonna, for me, Regista is organizing the press. Organizing that press, kickstarting it. We saw him under Sarri. He was vocal, go here, go there. Without him, I think Sarri would have struggled even more. And Jorginho single-handedly made the difference to even get some of Sarri's methods working in the team. But now, because we're a lot more expansive, we're not about short passes and link ups and just controlling areas of the pitch before we progress up. I think Jorginho has shown that, people think that he can only just do one thing. I think he's shown this season he can do more, but I just think that the more he's shown isn't enough of like a world-class potential that I think at this point is what we're looking at now, because we're thinking, okay, this is like the start of a new decade. We want to be one of the top 5 teams in the world by the end of this new decade, And I think to get to that stage, you have to make difficult decisions for the sake of that goal. So this is why I'd sacrifice Jorginho. I mean, you guys should not. I really like Jorginho. I like his work rate. One thing that really surprises me, a guy that's so lanky and thin like him, how he just gets about and is just non-stop energy and pressing. And obviously his team play too, but I think just because of the football we play, and that's the only reason.
This might be unpopular. This might be unpopular. It's probably the first time I've saying it, but I've definitely been thinking about it. Maybe it's isolation, I don't know. But Frank was to tell me I can't decide and I'm going to get rid of both of them and replace them with Billy and Ampadu, I'm not even crying. Not going to lie. I would actually be okay with that.
No, that's not unpopular. That's not unpopular with me. Like, I have weird thoughts. Well, that sounds bizarre.
We all having weird thoughts. All of us. Self-isolation is bringing out the crazy.
No, like, I love Ampadu and Billy. So, like, if that's what Frank said, there's no way in person I would say that's crazy, Frank. And I don't think that's crazy just hearing it where I'm standing right now. But I even think, like, midfielders are so fun to imagine acquiring. Like, I love a midfielder. So when people talk about midfield targets, like true midfield targets, I don't even mean Coutinho. Like, it gets me excited, but I also know, well, like, especially if Ruben's healthy and everything, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I don't think Chelsea are, like, truly looking for a real CM to come in and start. Like, maybe Soumare, but he's not going to come in and start, so it's different. So I think about, and I was going to float it out there, like, I love Milinkovic-Savic of Lazio. Like, absolutely love Milinkovic-Savic of Lazio. Just a true midfielder. I think he'd be great in the Premier League. Love him, love him, love him. But, like, the only way I could entertain acquiring him is if Jorginho and Conte were to leave. So, you know, I entertain stuff like that, at least in my head. And it's just such a big thing, though, to say, like, Jorginho, Conte, gone. Both
Oh, you don't say that. You don't say that.
There you go. I said it now.
don't say that on Twitter.
I won't. Trust me. I already got stick for entertaining Milinkovic-Savic coming before last season with Sarri. I mentioned Ruben Loftus-Cheek in a tweet, but I was never saying get rid of Loftus-Cheek. It's just that before last season, we didn't see much of Loftus-Cheek except at Crystal Palace. So I was just saying, you can't tell me having Loftus-Cheek is a reason not to get Milinkovic-Savic. Then a year later, because Ruben did really well, people spun it as I wanted Ruben out the door to get Milinkovic-Savic, which obviously was not what I was saying at all. So there's Twitter in a nutshell.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? Moving on to Kovacic quickly, you guys, we'll be here for 10 more minutes. That makes it like 90 minutes on the dot. But I think another thing we're not really thinking about for the possible restart of the season next season, God knows what it's going to be. Ruben returning back to the team, does that not maybe affect Kovacic's position? Because
I've always envisioned Kovacic and Ruben a perfect 2 in a 3. If they're playing a 3-man midfield, I think those 2 are your perfect 8.
So that's the great thing about Kovacic in that sense, that he can, let's say you want to rotate with Ruben, Kovacic can do that. And if you want to rotate with Kante, Kovacic can do that. And I think, I mean, I don't know why I interrupted so quick. It's my bad, man. But I just got excited. I think the big thing we're going to see for the start of next season, or whenever the season starts, is a lot of rotation, because Lampard is not going to be like Sarri. We're going to be 4-3-3 every single game. He will use different systems when we need to, and we're going to see different combinations, because I think modern day football is about balancing the team, rotation, etc., etc. I think that's why so many managers want even more players. I mean, look at squads today. Like, remember back in the day, you'd have like your clear starters, and then you'd have guys that would barely play, but with an injury or a sub, they'd play. But now you've got like 2 players who are good enough to start in the team, fighting to get in. And I think that's how like football is. I think because of just how energetic that the press has to be, how much energy you have to put in defensively, how much running you have to do. It's not sustainable for a first team to do that by themselves every single game of the season. So I think this is why a strong squad is important. And I don't know, sometimes I think the conversation's like, is this going to affect who? Will that affect him, etc., etc.? I don't think they will be, because of just natural rotation. Lampard will pick who plays well in training, and I think with all the games, we're going to be a team that will be playing 60+ games a season again. So I think, I don't know, I see things working out.
That's why.
I mean, I would just say, just co-sign that. Like, I think the versatility of a few players will keep everyone in the mix, and everyone, I don't mean happy, but invested. So the 3 players that I think's versatility massively helps not just them, but the rest of the team are Kovacic, like we just said. Yeah. He can play all 3 of like the normal midfield spots, not a 10, but he can play whatever Jorginho does. He can play that in his own way. Yeah. He can play Conte's spot. He can play over on the left-hand side where we've seen him play like a left center mid. So we know Kovacic is key to spelling a lot of players. Ruben doesn't want to play a 10, but he can play an 8 for certain, and he can play a 10. But Ruben was not actually one of the players I was mentioning. So Kovacic, Mount. Mount obviously is, whether people want to hear it or not, he's a massive weapon for Frank. He can play so many roles, and he's shown us he can play all these roles, at least from here and there, pretty well. And his even go to more forward than just the midfield, and Ziyech. So we know Ziyech can play the wing, the 10, and he can actually also play a midfield role, but he's a free roamer anyway. So Ziyech, Kovacic, and Mount, the versatility of those three players will be massive for Frank next season.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think, this is why I'm just happy with Lampard. He knows how to work with the club structures, and he knows what he needs to do to build and to make us grow and to make us become like a modern day, football team. I know that, I don't know. I know that a lot of people have loved the Jorginho Kovacic partnership. I mean, I have. I mean, aesthetically, it's been like beautiful at times. The link up play, the one touch. How they just dominate in the pivot and just play through people and start counter attacks. But that cynical part of me, that the part of me that just doesn't care about sentimentality and just only cares about cold, hard numbers and facts. Weren't they against smaller teams?
Cheeky Lily.
Like Burnley, the minute people started talking about Cover, like I remember that day after the Burnley game, I tweeted at the start of the season, Kovacic world class. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like,
am I being cynical?
I think you are a little bit. I feel like they did play very well in big games. I think I don't know. I don't remember the lineups.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But I know we played a very good game against Liverpool in the Super Cup, and I know Kante was part.
I know Kante was the guy, the main guy in that midfield who outplayed.
Maybe I've just helped you there. I don't know if that was a good.
That's what I mean. All I'm saying is, big games against big teams. I remember Kante, even though he's barely played, Liverpool, City.
I think my dream midfield anyway, it would be probably Gilmore, Cover, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in a 3. So it doesn't include either of them. So
for me, this team needs Kante all the time. To win, you know why? Because obviously, to win games, we're fans. We've seen how the context of games can change. You're dominating, as we've seen throughout the season. We're like dominating at the start, and then the minute second half starts, we fall asleep for the next 10-15 minutes. Players like Kante that doesn't happen when guys like him are playing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think we can't forget that, when we've won leagues and stuff, it has been because of his involvement. Because I don't know, I just think that so many combinations. Gilmore, Kante, Ruben, I can see that being like a main one. I can see Kante, Ruben being like using a pivot with like guys like Mason, Ziyech, and Pulisic or Hudson further up. I mean, it's options.
Frank is spoiled for options right now.
Yes, too many options. But yeah, you guys have some closing thoughts, because my belly is rumbling. I'm just going to be straight honest with everyone here. I'm really hungry right now. Wow. Yeah, obviously closing thoughts. I didn't think that one through too well. Yeah. Matisse, any final words you have? Any final observations, like a closing point you want the stream to think about before they go, because they're all going to be isolated. They have nothing else to do, and give them something to think about for tonight.
Something to think about. Definitely think about Coutinho. I think that was a big talking point. I think that's definitely what a lot of drama comes from in the fan base right now. Just to make it clear, I'm cool with a loan deal, but I'm not too sure about a permanent deal. And then also take a look at, I think another thing to take a look at is probably Ampadu. I still feel like Ampadu is a player that, if he had a great preseason, he could give you some answers that to a lot of issues that we have, particularly holding midfield and centre back as well. 2 positions he's played. I think someone like Ampadu, with the ball playing ability he has as well, could give us a lot of solutions next season.
Cool. And Alex, closing thoughts for us, just reflect on and think about.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off what Matisse said, like involving Coutinho. Definitely, I think it just drastically changes perception-wise when it goes from loan to buy. I'm okay with it as a loan, not at all as a buy. And what I'd branch off and say from that is something that is pretty important. I probably should put out an original tweet about it eventually. But when people say, oh, no, you don't want Coutinho because you want to protect your youth, it's not true, obviously. But this is important to say. I don't need to protect my youth. Sir Frank Lampard is protecting the youth, but he's not protecting the youth. He's using them because he rates the youth. So I don't need to sit here in Boston, Massachusetts and tell you, no, I don't want Coutinho because I want you to remember that Mason Mount is going to play. Frank Lampard is going to remind you that Mason Mount is going to play. And it's probably going to prove to you eventually, hopefully, that it actually was the correct decision. So for people who love the youth, this is no longer about protecting the youth. I think we're now thrilled. We're really happy that the youth is part of this team. At worst, they're part of the squad. At best, they're a huge core star foundation. Nonetheless, as I've said many times, they help you with money and approach for other players. But when I now talk about players and wanting to bring in players, it's not if I'm not in favor of someone because I want to protect another young player like a Tammy or a Mount. I don't have to worry about that now. If Frank thinks these players should play, they'll play. And eventually you'll realize that maybe that's the best option. But if I don't want Coutinho, it's for many other reasons than, oh, I'm afraid Mason's going to have competition. Not at all. I'm a Chelsea fan above all. So people need to understand that if we don't line up on our views and our opinions, you don't automatically know that there's one reason why I disagree with you. There's context, folks. Nini, I know you love that word. Context. There's multiple reasons why I come out and say something. There's multiple reasons why Matisse does a video. Matisse doesn't sit down and do a video because he just randomly felt like saying something. He's prepared for your rebuttals. He understands where you may be coming from if you disagree. So don't just think that if I disagree and I don't want Coutinho, it's because I only have one reason, and that's one player. Think a little deeper.
Facts.
Wow, that great words, you guys. And for me, just to give my closing thoughts, I think sometimes, of course, we look at our Coutinhos and our individual players like that, and yeah, if you're looking at them as an individual, then of course a lot of your points, a lot of your arguments do stand up. But we have to realize that we have a project, we have a system. So when you want players like this, maybe without realizing you're implying that you don't agree with how we're playing, you don't like how we play, because with certain individuals, they completely transform the setup, the tactics, what the manager wants. And sometimes, we have to look at players and think about how they fit with how we do things, not how we're going to fit with them, because it will never work like that. We've seen seasons where we've used that approach and it's never really worked at all. So I just think now it's time to buy into this philosophy, buy into the youth. I mean, the reason why these guys are being used isn't because of desperation. It's because, the club feel like, they can be the next big world-class stars, So I think we get behind them, we support them. And of course, with this environment at the club, how we play football, I think a lot of beautiful things can happen, you guys. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Of course, you guys, make sure that you do follow my good friends on Twitter. As you guys can see here, Alex Goldberg, make sure you follow him on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to his Patreon, The Byline. Not The Byline. Why do I keep bloody saying that? Alex, man, I'm so sorry. But make sure you guys follow him and join his Patreon. And of course, Matisse, make sure you follow him as well. As you guys can see here, Matisse Armani on Twitter. You guys know where to find them both. And on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I've got a video planned tomorrow. You guys are going to like it. Remember that Athletic article where they spoke about, how the club works when it comes to transfers? Now, I've broken that down. I've given some unique insights on top of that as well to add on to it. And I think you guys will really like it because, yeah, I've done a lot of work on this one. So tomorrow I'll see you and see you guys later.